With 2019 in the books, we continue our reflection on a year full of legal and tax developments that have impacted our producers across the country. We've been reviewing the top 10 issues over the past few weeks, and we are at the top of the list now. Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law joins us for a look at the last two topics. Thanks for joining us, Roger. Let's start with number 2 on your list, year-end tax and retirement legislation. What are your highlights there?
Yeah, good to be with you, Christina. We are at the top 2, and I've got pegged at number 2, as you said, something that came in very late in 2019, and that is kind of that omnibus spending legislation that actually had multiple parts to it. And in one of those, well, actually a couple of those parts, they snuck in a tax extender bill that extended certain provisions that had expired at the end of 18 and 19, and then they repealed some taxes that were contained in Obamacare a few years ago. But the really big chunk had to do with some significant changes to the retirement planning rules. For example, there is now an increase in the required minimum distribution age for distributions from a traditional IRA from age 70 and a half to the year in which you turn 72. So you don't have to withdraw those funds for an extra year and a half. You can build up a little bit more in there until you do. And the general rule that barred contributions to a traditional IRA by persons age 70 and a half and up is removed. So that's a big change, too. Plus, they made it easier for part-time employees to contribute to a 401k and for small companies to combine together to offer a retirement plan to their employees. Plus, there's a new exemption from the 10% penalty for early withdrawal from a retirement account. You can now withdraw up to $5,000 of funds penalty-free from a 401k or an IRA or other qualified plan within the year of your child's birth or the finalization of adoption. And then there's a provision that changes the rules significantly with respect to stretch IRAs. They are eliminated. So people really need to get with their financial planners to sort out the impact on this. But this is a huge development.
Yeah, you know, it could be highly beneficial as well. So you definitely want to find out more about that. We now turn our focus to the number 1 ag tax law development from 2019. Here we go. QBI, final regulations. What are the big takeaways there?
Yep, taxes at the top. Tax really affects or infects, however way you want to look at it, just about everything that we do. And, of course, under the 2017 tax legislation, Congress created a 20% pass-through deduction for non-C corporation businesses. So you get a 20% deduction for your qualified business income. And what happened in 2019 was we got finalization of the regs that answered a number of questions that we had going into 2019 about how those rules worked, what types of businesses were qualified for certain portions, and the methodology that you would use to compute the 20% deduction. And then we got proposed regulations for patrons of co-ops and agricultural co-ops themselves. So we got greater definition on how we handle rental income, how patrons of co-ops compute their pass-through deduction from the co-op, what's in the calculation, what's not in the calculation, a really big deal that affects a whole bunch of farmers, the vast percentage of them, and producers across the country and agribusinesses for that matter. And so that's why it landed at number 1 on my list, because of that broad application.
All right, really enjoyed that list. Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law, thank you so much for joining us.